Here is the Burzes audiobook channel. You are currently listening to the fantasy novel, The Ethereal Journey. Chapter 2. Leaving Earth. Until now, Li Qiang still didn't understand why he had become like this. Sitting in a guest room at Jinjiang Hotel, he looked at his reflection in the mirror and touched his face, thinking to himself, now no one will recognize me. I can't believe I can look this good. Alas, what's the use of looking good when I have no home, no friends, and no company? Now I really have nothing. Li Qiang was now a towering figure, standing at 180 centimeters tall with broad shoulders and a slim waist. His skin was as white and delicate as a baby's, with a faint blush flowing beneath the surface, giving him a vibrant appearance. His muscular body seemed to contain explosive power, and his narrow eyes emitted a piercing glare. The lines on the face are sharp and angular, giving him a masculine charm that was not quite handsome, but still very attractive. There was no trace of his original appearance left. What surprised Li Qiang the most was that his reflection in the mirror looked like an 18 or 19-year-old boy, with only his eyes retaining the maturity of his original self. Fu Shan had told Li Qiang that he would be leaving Earth in 20 days and that he had some business to attend to during that time. He would come back to pick him up when the time came. Li Qiang was very satisfied with his new appearance and felt great. He thought to himself that he could finally start everything from scratch. After taking a shower and getting dressed, Li Qiang left the hotel. The first thing he did was rent a room in a warehouse. He figured that since he was leaving Earth and might not come back for a long time, it would be better to buy a lot of things that he might need in the future. Besides, the cash in his bracelet would just be a pile of worthless paper if he didn't use it before leaving Earth. "Hello, what kind of good liquor do you have?" Li Qiang asked with a smile to the pretty sales clerk in a liquor store. The usually articulate sales clerk looked up at Li Qiang and was speechless. Her heart was pounding, and a blush crept up her face. She thought to herself, wow, this guy is so handsome. My boyfriend doesn't even compare to him. He. Two young female clerks across the counter whispered to each other, occasionally letting out ambiguous laughter. Hello, what did you say? Oh, sorry, what would you like to buy? The pretty sales clerk's face turned even redder. Li Qiang chuckled. He really liked his current situation and said, I'd like to buy some good liquor. Can you recommend any? What happened next left the sales clerk speechless. This incredibly handsome guy bought almost all the branded liquor in the store in one go. After leaving several thick stacks of cash, he instructed the hired worker to take it away and waved goodbye to her gracefully before walking confidently to the next shopping mall. Even after a long time, this pretty sales clerk still remembered that handsome and wealthy guy, fantasizing about how great it would be if he were her boyfriend. The shopping spree continued until the evening when Li Qiang finally stopped his crazy purchases. He first returned to the rented warehouse and stored everything in his storage bracelet. It was already past 11 o'clock when he got back to the hotel. I'll go shopping again tomorrow, Li Qiang sat on the bed, completely unable to fall asleep. The pain in his heart seemed to subside slightly only through this crazy shopping. Scenes from his childhood poverty and later struggles in the business world flashed through his mind like a movie. Li Qiang stayed awake all night. For 19 consecutive days, he engaged in a super crazy shopping spree that only stopped when he had spent almost all the cash stored in his bracelet. Being a businessman, Li Qiang habitually estimated his expenses and was shocked to find that he had spent over 9 million yuan, equivalent to more than $1 million, in just 19 days. The space in his bracelet was now half full, filled with everything from clothes to shoes, books to paper, rice to salt, basically anything he could find in the market. He had also bought a lot of medicines and some small medical instruments. On the afternoon of the 20th day, Fu Shan appeared in front of Li Qiang on time. Mars, our neighboring planet, has a diameter of 4,200 miles, about half that of Earth, and a mass that is 0.11 times that of Earth. It is surrounded by a relatively thin atmosphere and is known as the mysterious Red Planet. There are 3 distinctly different types of terrain on Mars. The first is the cratered terrain, which resembles the Moon's surface. The second is a chaotic, undeveloped terrain formed by large-scale subsidence, with the widest part of the subsidence area reaching 60 miles. The third type of terrain on Mars is the ordinary plain, where there are no visible hills, ridges, or craters, and it appears to be a vast wilderness covered in sand or dust. Fu Shan and Li Qiang were standing in the second type of terrain, a giant subsidence area. As Earth had been almost forgotten by the cultivation world, the transmission array on Earth had been abandoned and lost hundreds of years ago. Only those who had left Earth, like Fu Shan, would be willing to spend a large amount of energy and fairy stones to return to their hometown. If they were not cultivation masters themselves, it would be impossible for them to go back even if they wanted to. Fu Shan sat cross-legged on the ground. The instant teleportation from Earth to Mars had cost him 5 top-grade Biqiao stones and a significant amount of his own energy. He waved his hand to raise the 5-colored Yenluo cover, to protect both of them, and immediately began to meditate, holding an energy stone in each hand to recover his strength. Li Qiang was still dizzy and disoriented. He couldn't believe that it was possible to travel from Earth to Mars just by human power. It was too unbelievable. Forced to leave Earth and never see his family and friends again, the sense of loss welled up in his heart. Regardless, he made a firm decision that he would definitely return to Earth after achieving success in cultivation. This resolution calmed his mood considerably, and he began to observe his surroundings carefully. The dark red cliffs soared into the sky was as silent as death, and the surrounding area was eerily quiet. The colorful, flowing semicircular cover hovered around him and Fu Shan like a giant tent. Although he didn't know what it was, Li Qiang understood that this treasure must have a protective function. While bored, Li Qiang discovered something amazing: he could breathe without any discomfort. He looked at Fu Shan, who was sitting cross-legged, and knew that he wouldn't wake up for a while, so he also sat cross-legged next to him. He realized that he didn't know what changes had occurred in his body since being transformed by the purple yen heart, so he decided to take this opportunity to explore. After sitting cross-legged, Li Qiang was at a loss as to where to start. That's right, I've read martial arts novels before. They always talk about sinking qi into the dantian or something like that. Let me try it out, he thought to himself. Ugh, I don't feel anything. This is giving me a headache like my great-grandfather used to have. I refuse to believe I can't figure this out. Li Qiang gritted his teeth in determination. He held his breath, closed his eyes, and focused his mind. After an excruciatingly long time, just as Li Qiang was about to give up in despair, he felt a sudden explosion within his body. Although his eyes were closed, he could clearly see a purple flame expanding within him. He realized that his purple flame heart had been activated. This activation was no small matter. It was like dropping a boulder into a pond, sending ripples spreading outwards. Now, the purple flame heart was like the surface of the water, and Li Qiang's focused breathing and meditation were like the boulder plunging into the depths, awakening the vast energies within. A dazzling purple radiance began to emit from Li Qiang's body, so bright that it illuminated his surroundings. Li Qiang knew the trouble he was in. As soon as the purple flame heart activated, he regretted it because he had no idea what to do next. This is really giving me a headache now, he thought. I don't know when Brother Fu will wake up. What am I going to do? The energy of the purple flame heart continued to expand, and Li Qiang could no longer sit idly. He shot out of the ground like a cannonball, piercing through the protective, 5-colored flame barrier, and slamming into a nearby cliff face. As the cliff loomed closer, Li Qiang screamed in terror, "Ah, the mountain is falling. Help!" Crash! Boom! Amazingly, his words seemed to come true. A large chunk of the cliff collapsed, sending huge boulders tumbling down. Amidst the deafening roar, a cloud of dust and debris rushed towards the five-colored flame barrier below. Embedded deep within the cliff, Li Qiang was petrified with fear. He yelled frantically, "Brother Fu, get out of the way, wait, how am I still alive?" He watched in horror as the boulders crashed into the five-colored flame barrier, causing the colorful light to spin rapidly. The dust and debris couldn't obscure its dazzling radiance. Gradually, everything calmed down, and Li Qiang realized that the fallen boulders had neatly encircled the five-colored flame barrier without breaching it. "Wow, what a treasure this is," he exclaimed. "Damn, how am I going to get down from here?" Stuck more than 70 meters above the ground, his whole body glowing purple, Li Qiang looked like a lantern hanging on the cliff. Fortunately, this was on Mars. If it were on Earth, the spectacle would have caused quite a stir. Crack, crack, crack. As the energy of the purple flame heart continued to disperse, the rocks around Li Qiang began to crumble. "This isn't fun anymore," he groaned. "Help, please stop this, no. I quit. Help me." Boom. The ground shook violently. Li Qiang crashed into the ground, leaving a crater half a meter deep. It took him a while to pull himself up, his face contorted in pain. He spat out a mouthful of dirt and sand, then punched a nearby boulder in frustration. Boom! Another loud explosion echoed through the air as the boulder disintegrated into a shower of fragments. What the hell, why is this thing exploding too? Li Qiang stood there dumbfounded. "Brother Fu, did you turn me into some kind of monster? I'm about to get myself killed here," he lamented. Terrified by his precarious situation, he cautiously approached the five-colored flame barrier. Why can't I get in?" "Brother Fu, open the door," he pleaded. The five-colored flame barrier seemed to be blocking him, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't take a step inside. Frustrated, Li Qiang collapsed onto the barrier, gazing pitifully at Fu Shan within. After an unknown amount of time had passed, Fu Shan slowly opened his eyes to see a young man clinging to the protective shield, his body surrounded by purple flames, eagerly staring at him. His lower body parts swayed loosely. The young man shouted, "Thank goodness. Brother Fu, open the door." Fu Shan was startled. Wasn't this Li Qiang? With a wave of his hand, he retracted the five-colored flame luo shield. Suddenly losing his support, Li Qiang fell to the ground with a thud. Watching Li Qiang awkwardly climb to his feet, Fu Shan couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Haha, ha ha ha, kid, haha, even though there's no one else here, you don't have to be so exaggerated, ha ha ha." As soon as Li Qiang relaxed, he realized that he was completely naked. After activating the purple flame heart, all his clothes had turned to ashes. Just as he was about to take out a piece of clothing from his bracelet and unwrap it, poof, the clothes turned to ashes in a puff of pale smoke. Li Qiang looked stunned. Suppressing his laughter, Fu Shan said, "Kid, anything you brought from Earth won't work now. The true fire emitted by your purple flame heart will burn anything it can't control." Li Qiang covered his lower body with his arms crossed and said with a dejected expression, "If I had more confidence in my current appearance, I wouldn't be able to live like this. I can't even show my face to people like this." His melancholy expression made Fu Shan burst out laughing again. He really didn't expect his little brother to be such a comic relief. "Don't worry, kid. Your current situation has surprised me too. You've reached the Lingji period in such a short time. I must say, I'm impressed. It usually takes decades for ordinary cultivators to reach this stage. Hehe, you're really amazing. You've achieved it in just a few days. It's enviable." As Li Qiang heard his praise, he couldn't help but puff out his chest, but then he suddenly realized something was wrong and quickly bent down to cover his private parts again, his face flushed and embarrassed as he exclaimed, "Big brother, I don't care about whether it's Lingji or not. Quickly think of a way to stop me from being naked like this." Hee. Originally I planned for you to craft your own armor before reaching the Lingji period, but that's not possible now. Alright, I'll give you a set of armor I crafted. But in the future, you still need to learn how to craft your own. Fu Shan walked over to Li Qiang and appeared with a set of silver armor in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the silver armor seemed to come alive, automatically attaching itself to Li Qiang's body. As soon as the armor was put on, the purple flame began to burn, making the silver armor glow brilliantly. The purple flame rippled like water on the surface of the armor, slowly sinking into it, with purple flames circulating within the silver surface, looking extremely beautiful. The armor didn't feel heavy on Li Qiang's body, but instead gave him a cool and comfortable sensation. Li Qiang was no stranger to weird things happening, having already received many treasures. As he carefully observed the armor on his body, he found it truly speechless, a masterpiece of art. He pointed at the armor and asked, "What's the name of this treasured armor? It's really beautiful." "Oh, no." Suddenly, a thought occurred to him. "How am I going to take it off?" Hee. Fu Shan smiled mischievously. "This treasured armor is called Man Tian Xing, means starry sky in English, and it's an excellent internal armor. Once it's put on, it can never be taken off. But when the Lingji period ends and your Yuaning, soul nucleus, is formed, the armor will attach itself to your Yuaning and won't be seen externally. That's when you'll need to craft your second armor, which will be a true battle armor that can be put on and taken off." "Ah, can't take it off, then how am I going to see people? Am I going to wear this shining armor on the street?" I. Li Qiang was starting to panic. "Don't worry, it's a very common thing in our place. Nobody will laugh at you," Fu Shan assured him. "Here, take this Yutong Jian Jade Eye Simplifier. You can use it to learn and understand everything. Just input a little of your energy into it, and you can try it out." Fu Shan took out a black jade that was about the size of a cigarette box and handed it to Li Qiang. Li Qiang was delighted when he tried it. It was a memory stone that contained a vast amount of information on manufacturing methods, cultivation techniques, arrays, and more. It was like a computer with a wealth of information. "It's time for us to go. The transmission site is a bit of a walk from here, let's head over." Li Qiang curiously asked, "Brother Fu, is the technology on Fengyuan Star very developed? Which is more powerful, Fengyuan Star or Earth?" Fu Shan smiled and said, "It's hard to compare. They are different types of technology, and some things there are incomprehensible to you. However, each has its own strengths. This time when I returned to Earth, I was truly amazed at how different it is now compared to before. When you go to Fengyuan Star, you can slowly learn new knowledge." Li Qiang was very excited and asked again, "Are there many planets to visit? Is it fun?" "There are many planets to visit, but it requires a lot of fairy stones and ready-made transmission arrays. Whether it's fun or not, you'll find out when you go there." "Can I go back to Earth in the future?" "Yes, but you need to cultivate to the combined stage to have the ability to return. The ancient transmission array on Earth has long been destroyed, so returning to Earth completely depends on your own cultivation level." Li Qiang didn't understand what the combined stage meant for cultivators, as it required countless years of cultivation. He thought he could go back soon, but if Fu Shan explained it more clearly, he would have gone crazy. It took Fu Shan more than 700 years to gain the ability to return to Earth. How long would it take Li Qiang? Soon, they arrived at the transmission site. To Li Qiang's surprise, the transmission site was made up of large energy stones, resembling a bagua, 8 trigrams, diagram. Fu Shan smiled and said, "This was my first time going to Fengyuan Star from here too. However, this place has been abandoned for many years, and only a few cultivators still remember it. If your cultivation level wasn't so low, I wouldn't have thought of going this way." His tone revealed a sense of nostalgia. "Alright, stand in the center of the array first while I activate it." Fu Shan began replacing some ineffective energy stones and rotating the array. Slowly, light began to flow between the energy stones. Fu Shan sighed and said, "This transmission site has been abandoned for too long. We need to let it rotate for a while to calibrate the direction." Sitting in the center of the array, Li Qiang felt nervous. He had arrived on Mars from Earth unknowingly, but this time he was fully aware of what was happening and didn't know what to expect. He silently prayed, "Past gods and immortals, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Lord God, Amitabha, bless me to arrive safely on Fengyuan star. Amen." After making the sign of the cross, he felt more at ease. As if to fulfill his prayer, a shrill whistling sound suddenly came from the distance. Fu Shan straightened up, frowned, and looked towards the sound, his expression serious. "Who is whistling to summon me? Come here." His voice wasn't very loud when he spoke, but it somehow exploded outwards, echoing loudly in all directions with the words, "Come here. Come here. Come here." It was truly astonishing. Li Qiang thought to himself, "Damn. Is it really this effective? I hope I didn't pray for a monster to show up. That would be embarrassing." Fortunately, no monster appeared. Instead, it was Fu Shan's enemy who showed up. The second chapter ends. Thank you for listening. This is Burz's audiobook channel. Please follow me to get updates in the first time.